Hello and welcome. Today we will have a look on the ERP integration of Manufacturing X and how it leverages variant configuration straight from SAP. This picture shows the integration, so we will use the variant configuration and the product prices, load them to Manufacturing X and show how it behaves there, and at the same time look how the rules and constraints are set up in ERP and see them running in Manufacturing X. Further, we will do some changes on the ERP side, which in real time show in Manufacturing X. Alright, let's go into the systems. So here we see Manufacturing X, here ERP. We are inside a quotation with 8 line items, which are all PCs, which have a configuration like this. On the right hand side we open now an ERP, the product modeling environment for variant configuration, PME-VC, and we'll open the same product configuration over there. So this is the administration mode. So let's look first at the structure. So what we see on top is something called configuration profile, which captures constraints, rules about the behavior of the system. Then we see class TVPC00, which actually captures all the attributes that are used. So for instance, casing or CPU, which is here. And below we see the knowledge base, which is actually an envelope for different versions of the configuration, which could be valid starting from a different point in time. Let's start with a simple rule that sets default values based on the casing chosen for the color and whether it's glossy or non-glossy. The rule looks like this in SAP. So if tower is chosen, then set a specific color and gloss as a default value. So we choose tower here, and we see the configuration switches to without gloss and purple. So I can change that also, of course, and if I unset it, it will return to the default value. The same doesn't happen, for instance, if I choose desktop. Next, let's have a look on a very simple variant table, which is defined like this. So it describes the dependencies between 3 attributes, the multimedia package, the CD drive, and the speakers. The content of the table is shown here. So what it means is, if I use the standard package 01, I will choose the slow CD drive and the 10 watt speakers. We can also check the other options. Which is defined here. Another example is that when I choose my hard disk, I need to choose a software package too. This is defined in here under the rules here. We have also a dependency between CPU and hard disk, which is defined on the value as a precondition. And what you see here is that the value 40 can be only chosen for the standard and super fast CPU. So this behaves like this. So let's take fast here. We select 60 for instance, we reduce it now, the CPU to medium, super fast, and we see that here value is chosen which is not valid, right, 60, and we need to choose a different value. So these were a couple of examples for constraints and rules to control the configuration. Next, let's have a look into pricing. We start with a more complex pricing rule, which is defined here, which says there's a variant condition which has a price that defines the value for 1 GB of memory, and we multiply this with the hard disk chosen here. To see the effect of this rule, we can simply go to the pricing view in manufacturing X and see here the base price for 1 GB is 10 euro, and since we have chosen 20 GB, we get the price of 200 euro. Further, we see that there's another price condition for the tower, which is 120 euro. That's coming from the selection of the casing tower. Let me show you how that looks in SAP. To do so, we open the testing mode, and we see here for the casing of the PC that there is a pricing condition assigned to the tower, which is TW0, which we have also seen on the other side. So what we have seen so far is how to create constraints and rules for the configuration and prices. Now let's have a look at the prices itself. To do so, we need to open another transaction called BK13, and first let's look at the base price of this computer, which is the 700 euro. In this case, it comes directly from the material, but there could be also other combinations. We choose a certain sales area and see the base price here. We can also go back and look at the variant prices, VA00. For instance, for the tower option, 120 euro, or the price for 1 GB memory hard disk. Which is 10 euro. So last, let's check out the production BOM of this PC. The transaction code for this is CS03. The plant is 1200 and the BOM usage is 1. So here we see the entire production BOM of this material, the different software options, CPU options, and so on. And there are also rules on how to select which of the options maintained here. So let's look at CPU fast, and you see if option 3 is chosen in the configuration, then this item will go into the production BOM. Last, let's check out the production process, the so-called routing, which is also controlled from the configuration. That can be accessed using CA03. So this is the production process which is defined for this material, and we could look into one of the rules here, for instance. So this process is selected if the CPU option 4 is chosen. So now we have seen all the essential parts of the configuration in SAP and how they reflect in Manufacturing X. So what we can do with this is then create an order and trigger all the relevant logistics process, make-to-order processes, also made-to-stock processes, and everything which is happening behind the scenes, including invoicing, billing, delivery, and so on. So next, let's do a little change and see how this reflects in Manufacturing X in real time. So let's go back into our product modeling environment. And what we will do is simply introduce a new color and give it a price. So for this, we go into the attribute, the characteristic, and apply a change without change number in this case. So we introduce option 08, silver, and save. To assign a price to this new color, we go into the testing mode. We see here silver, and we assign a variant price to it. We call it silver 00. Next, we will maintain a price for this silver option. For this, we go to transaction VK11 and create a price. So for the variant silver 00, we maintain an amount of 30 euro per each. And simply save that. So last, we create a new version of our knowledge base and release this to Manufacturing X. So we go here, create a new runtime version. We name it number 7. We need to maintain the status, which is released, and the BOM application. And generate the knowledge base runtime version EX. Last, we need to call a little function module to transport the changes to Manufacturing X. It's called ECC SC request. The knowledge base name is tvpc 00, and the version that we want to release is 007. We execute that and see that the process completed successfully. So let's switch back to Manufacturing X, and we check in the product catalog that this new knowledge base runtime version arrived. We look for our tvpc. Here, and we see on the knowledge base that we now have also a version 0. So let's create a new quotation and see the changes that we did in ERP. So I choose the type, the account, I go into the product catalog, add the PC to the quotation, and in the configuration, the first thing that we see that we are now on version 007. What we can see here is our silver option, which is now chosen, and we see the variant conditions for 30 euro. let's complete the configuration and create an order to complete the process. So we take a medium CPU, we take all the extras, we take a 20 GB hard disk, we choose all the software, we choose option green, the audiophile multimedia package, and save the configuration. When we go out, we now see the total price, which is 1020 euro, and we create an order now. For this, we need to submit the quotation. Set it to accepted, and this gives us now the option to create an order in ERP. We can choose different ERP sales documents we want to have in order. We enter a purchase order number and then simply create the order in SAP ERP. We now receive the order number here and go to ERP to check that the order was created successfully. 03. Paste the order number. We can go into the configuration, which we see here, and we see it's the same configuration that we have in Manufacturing X. So this summarizes this demonstration. So what we have seen is how constraints, rules, and pricing reflect from SAP into Manufacturing X, that changes reflect in real time, and that orders can be created at the end to trigger processes like manufacturing, logistics and delivery, as well as invoicing and billing.